Sometimes the biggest stories in history, the ones that change everything, they start with something really small. This is one of those stories. It all kicks off with a desperate search for oil in the middle of a desert, and it ends with a global conflict that would come to define the 21st century for all of us.
The chain of events here is so improbable, it almost sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie. But it's all true. And it really all boils down to this one central question. How on earth did a single business deal for oil end up completely reshaping, well, our entire world?
Okay, so to understand this, we've got to go way back. Let's rewind to the 1930s. America is this young, rising superpower, and it's starting to figure something out, something absolutely crucial. Future global power wasn't just going to be about having the biggest army. No, it was going to be fueled by one thing: oil.
And so their eyes turned east. You've got this one California oil company that decides to take an absolutely massive gamble. I'm talking betting the entire company on the vast, completely uncharted deserts of Saudi Arabia. It was a total shot in the dark. Seriously, nobody had any idea if there was even a single drop of oil out there.
And then it happened. The moment that changed everything. In 1938, that massive gamble, it paid off. Big time. They struck oil. And we're not talking about some little discovery here. Oh no. This was one of the largest reserves on the entire planet. And just like that, the fates of this modern American superpower and this ancient traditional kingdom were tied together forever.
Now you'd think, great, everybody's happy, right? Well, this new partnership was anything but simple. I mean, you're talking about a true alliance of opposites, and it basically set the stage for a massive, massive culture clash.
Just picture this for a second. On one side, you've got the United States, industrial, always expanding, super modern. And on the other side, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We're talking a hardcore religious monarchy, home to the two holiest sites in all of Islam, and run by a royal family that was, to put it mildly, very suspicious of outsiders.
So all these American oil workers start flooding into the desert, right? And they bring their entire way of life with them. They build these little bubbles of America. I'm talking air-conditioned houses, outdoor movie theaters, and you had women driving cars, people drinking alcohol, all things that were completely forbidden, like literally illegal in the rest of the country. You can imagine this started to create some serious resentment.
But, the oil was flowing, business was good, and pretty soon the US government comes knocking with a much bigger ask. They wanted to build a military base on Saudi soil. Officially, it was to protect their shared interests. But for a kingdom that was so deeply private and isolationist, this was a huge deal.
The Saudis, looking at all this incredible new wealth pouring in, they eventually say yes. But, and this is a big but, they had one key condition. And this one little rule just perfectly sums up the tension of this whole arrangement. The Americans could have their base, sure, but they were not, under any circumstances, allowed to plant an American flag on Saudi soil. No flag.
So okay, you've got all this new American infrastructure popping up. Oil cities, military bases, the works. Somebody has to build all of it, right? Well, the man who landed that contract would, believe it or not, connect this entire oil deal directly to the biggest conflicts of our lifetime, all through his own family.
His name was Mohammed bin Laden. His construction company basically became the official builder for the Americans, and as the American presence in the kingdom just exploded, so did his personal fortune. He became one of the wealthiest, most connected men in the entire country.
So his business is booming, he's fantastically rich, and he has let's say a very large family. We're talking 54 children. Yeah, and one of those many, many sons, growing up surrounded by all this wealth that was built directly on this American partnership, well, he was given a specific name, Osama. And yeah, suddenly, this story we've been telling about oil and business, it takes a very, very different turn.
Because this son, Osama bin Laden, he looked at his family's incredible success, this partnership with the Americans, and he didn't see something to be proud of. He saw something to be disgusted by. To him, the presence of what he called the Great Satan on the holy lands of Islam was the ultimate sacrilege.
Okay, so all of this tension that's been bubbling under the surface, it's about to explode. The year is 1990. Saddam Hussein's Iraq invades its tiny neighbor Kuwait, which is right on Saudi Arabia's doorstep. The Saudi kingdom is absolutely terrified, and it has to make a choice, a really big choice. And two very, very different offers to defend the kingdom land on the king's desk.
Option 1 comes from Osama bin Laden. He says, look, my fighters and I, we just beat the Soviets in Afghanistan. We're battle-hardened. Let us defend the kingdom with our faith. Then comes option 2, the United States, offering up the entire might of the world's greatest military.
The Saudi royals, they didn't just say no to bin Laden's offer. They were almost laughing at it. There's this famous story where a Saudi prince just shoots him down, saying that his guys only beat the Soviets by hiding in caves in Afghanistan. And then he says, there are no caves in Kuwait. Just completely dismissed.
So the kingdom made its choice. They chose America. The U.S. military rolls in with overwhelming force and crushes the Iraqi army, no problem. The alliance is stronger than ever. But for Osama bin Laden, this was it. This was the ultimate betrayal. His own country had chosen the infidels over him.
And that single decision, right there, to invite the U.S. military to stay, that lit a fuse. It set off a chain reaction that leads directly, and I mean directly, to the world that we all live in today.
Because here's the crucial part. After the war was over, the American troops and their bases, they didn't leave. They just stayed. What was sold as a temporary mission to save the kingdom became a permanent military presence on the holiest soil in the entire Islamic world.
For Osama bin Laden, that was the last straw, the point of no return. He launches al-Qaeda and begins a campaign of attacks against U.S. targets all over the globe. It builds and builds throughout the 90s until it culminates in the September 11th attacks in 2001. And that, of course, launches the United States into the global war on terror, which has shaped pretty much everything since.
So just think about that. From a simple business deal for oil, all the way to a global war. It's just a crazy reminder of how one choice can echo through the decades, creating consequences that nobody could have possibly predicted. It leaves you with this one kind of haunting question, doesn't it? When do the consequences of any single choice actually end?